Hello, Megumi Mary here, and today Marvel is everywhere. Of course, if you grew up back in the 90s, you will know that they weren't always so good at making movies. There was a time when DC Comics were considered the king of comic book movies. But now Marvel has this huge cinematic universe that all connects with each other. And it's gained such a momentum that other movies and series and whatnot are trying to copy that formula. Hell, even I'm trying to copy that formula in my books. But I digress. A good part of this can be exhibited through what we expect from the Marvel movie-going experience. We sit through the end credits. And that's not a coincidence, because we expect something, which is the topic of today's video. Sequel baiting. Sequel baiting is a technique that is used to, bait for a sequel. They get you excited about possible events in the future to come. Whether it be by showing a little bit of a Phoenix image in the water at the end of X2, or having Nick Fury say, I'm putting a team together at the end of the first Iron Man movie. It gets people excited for what's to come. And sometimes it works really well. Other times, it just gets people really annoyed when it falls flat on its face. Some well-known examples are, again, comic book movies. In the X-Men trilogy, the original 3 movies, they were building up to the big Phoenix saga, and it didn't work out. While I had a fun time watching X3, not everyone else did, because they were expecting something big, something huge. Meanwhile, I just binge-watched all 3 movies in a row, and I didn't have such heavy expectation on the third one, because I wasn't waiting for it as long as everyone else. And this is the biggest problem with sequel baiting, is that if you don't deliver on what you promise the right way, it will backfire so badly. An example of a good way to use it is, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At the end of the first Iron Man movie, we have Nick Fury say, I'm putting together a team. And, we got excited, we're like, oh, that's cool, but at the time no one really expected to go anywhere until we saw the end of The Incredible Hulk, when Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark walks into the bar to the General and says, I'm putting together a team. And it was them saying, yeah, we're going to make good on our promise. And then they did movies for Thor and Captain America, getting ready for the big team-up. And the team-up delivered in spades. It was just a masterpiece. The plot wasn't very elaborate, but who cares? It was what they promised. It was these characters that we had each got, at least, most of them have had at least one movie to elaborate on, working together, and it was a really good thing to see pan out as well as it did. But then we had Age of Ultron, and they kept building up, and everyone was excited for Age of Ultron since literally the first Avengers movie ended. In my opinion, Age of Ultron is the stronger movie. It's got a better plot, it's got better action sequences, it's got better character moments. But the reason why it got such a critical backlash is because people were expecting more from it. And that can be, that makes sense. People were hyping this thing up so high, and their expectations were literally dashed out the window. And then, of course, the biggest problem with the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now is Thanos. At the beginning of the first movie, we see Thanos, and they tease him, and it's like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then, they showed him in Guardians of the Galaxy, and we're like, ooh, this is great. And then when we got around to the end of Age of Ultron, when they tease him again in the end credits scene, it was like, okay, do something already. And I have to say, they really need to get Thanos to do stuff. They need to make good on that promise of Thanos. Otherwise, the series won't do so well. The other problem I see with the Marvel Cinematic Universe is there are already talks about a Phase 4. And we already know that the Spider-Man movies are going to continue after the events of the Infinity War. And for someone who wants the clean-cut story of the Infinity Stones, if they start sequel-baiting future movies before then, it's going to make the viewer feel like they have to go on and watch it. You know, leaving open-ended plot lines does not always work out, and people expect more. Look at Avatar: The Last Airbender. They left one plot thread wide open, literally addressing it in the last few minutes of the show, and it took us years to find out what happened via graphic novel. So, the point I'm trying to make is, make good on those promises if you're going to use sequel baiting as a writing technique. And the other part is, when all is said and done, make sure you confine it into a nice enough story. Don't try to stay longer than you have to. And I think this is an important thing for all stories in general. I think shows tend to either play their big card too soon or last longer than they should. And there are very few things that last just the right amount of time. So, these are Confessions of a Writer on sequel baiting.